so we have a question here that says determine the basic trig functions of the angles in the figure below. So this angle we have the starting point there, which is 0, then this is the x-axis, and we've got the y-axis there. Then we've got P with the coordinates 6.4, 7.7. Then we've got the other point there, which is 9.4, 3.4. So then we have this angle there, which goes to this point there, which is 20 degrees. Then we've got the whole of this angle here, which goes to 50 degrees for this point here. So then the question says we need to determine the basic trig functions there. So let's break down this diagram that we have here. So by forming the triangles there. So we're going to start with this big triangle that we have there. So we're going to have, we draw it there. So that is our hypotenuse, and we have a point from there coming down. Okay, so we have this point there is 6.4, 7.7 there. So this is our origin there, and this is our hypotenuse, and we have 50 degrees there as the angle. Okay, so then from here we have our opposite there, and this down here is our adjacent. So here we don't know the size of our hypotenuse there, but we know to say our opposite is equals to 7.7 and our adjacent there is equal to 6.4 there. Okay, so now we need to calculate for what? For the hypotenuse there. So I'm going to say sine 50 degrees there is equal to the opposite over the hypotenuse. Okay, so then we don't know what the hypotenuse is, but we know what the opposite is there. So we're going to have sine 50 degrees is equal to, our opposite is 7.7, and the hypotenuse there, we don't know what it is. So then we're going to make our hypotenuse there the subject. So this here, we're going to have our hypotenuse there is equal to 7.7 over sine 50 degrees there. So meaning that our hypotenuse will be equal to, so we have 7.7 divided by sine 50. So then our hypotenuse for the first point there will be 10.1. So our hypotenuse for the first one will be 10.1. Then for this triangle here, the basic trig functions, so the basic trig functions there, we're going to say, the first one is sine 50, we're going to say sine 50 will be equal to 7.7 over 10.1, then cos 50 there, we're going to have, it's made up of the adjacent over the hypotenuse. So the adjacent is 6.4 over 10.1, and tan 50 is equals to the opposite over the adjacent. So our opposite there is 7.7 and our adjacent there is 6.4. So these are the basic trig functions that we can derive from the first big triangle there. Okay. So then let us break down this smaller triangle that we have there, and we find the length of OP there, which is our what? Our hypotenuse. So then we can use the same sign there, because we know to say we have the opposite there, we know it, but we don't know the what? We don't know the hypotenuse there, but we also know to say the angle is 20 degrees there. So then we're going to have sine 20 degrees is equal to the opposite over the hypotenuse. So we're going to have our hypotenuse there will be equal to the opposite over sine 20 degrees there. So our hypotenuse in that case will be equal to, then here, the opposite here is 3.4. So the opposite for that angle there is 3.4 over sine 20 degrees like that. Okay, so let's find out what 3.4 divided by sine 20 is. So we're going to say 3.4 divided by sine 20. So our hypotenuse in this case is equal to 9.9. Okay, so now we also write the basic trig functions for this triangle that we have there. So the basic trig functions, are, we have sine 20 there for this triangle that we have here is equal to the opposite over the hypotenuse. So our opposite in this case is 3.4. So I have 3.4 over the hypotenuse, which is 9.9 there. And we have here the next basic trig function is cos 20. Cos 20 is equal to, so for the cosine function, it's made up of the adjacent over the hypotenuse. So what is our adjacent in this case? So our adjacent is 9.4 over the hypotenuse, which is 9.9. Okay, so then we look at the last basic trig function that we have, which is the tangent function. So we're going to have tan 20 is equal to, tan 20 is made up of the opposite over the adjacent. So our opposite in this case is 3.4 and our adjacent is 9.4. So these are basic trigonometric functions for the smaller triangle that we have here, and these here are the basic trigonometric functions for the bigger angle that we have there.